Friends, thank you so much for being a subscriber, for tuning in every single week to the messages of divine love. I wanted to let you know about a couple of new classes that I have coming up. Actually, it's going to be 4 new classes. 3 of them are titled Surviving Your Tower Moment. And if you've been around for any amount of time, you know that the Tower card is probably my favorite tarot card of all of them. And it's also one of the most misunderstood. I will never forget the day that I went in for a reading and I was kind of sitting around waiting. And the person I was going to have a reading with had someone else. And first of all, she didn't have a very good setup, because I should not have been able to hear this conversation. But the Tower card came up and I heard her audibly gasp, like, oh no. And I mean, very literally that kind of like gasp. That has not been my experience of the Tower. And in fact, this class comes out of uh, sort of a theory, an image, a framework that I developed before I even learned how to read tarot cards, a couple of years before it. And the origin story, very quickly, is back when I was a sophomore in high school, I was part of a senior to sophomore honors philosophy class. And as a good Catholic girl, I was having a lot of trouble with the material because the material was resonating with me very deeply, but was definitely counter to what the church was teaching. And I can't even remember like what specific set of beliefs were being challenged, but I had described it to my teacher as it feels like a wrecking ball coming through my tower of self. And I have a couple of choices. I can just panic and try to put everything back exactly the way it was. But then the wrecking ball just keeps coming through. I could try to shift something so that it's not so disruptive when it comes through. So I could add a window or change the decor or maybe even put in a different set of stairs somewhere else. I could move into a completely new tower and hope that there's no wrecking balls that come for it. Or I can take the leftover pieces and look at them one by one and decide, does this really belong here? And rebuild the tower from scratch according to who I am now. And the way that I talk about the tower and what you'll learn in the first class, and it'll be this framework, but we'll go into it in a lot more detail about your particular situations, about, some more of my story to use as an illustration. But what we'll do is we'll examine what created our tower. It existed before us. It is what our families, our caregivers, our society, our communities all contributed to our upbringing. The problem is that we're not meant to stay there. And somehow in our societal conversation, our narrative, we forgot that. And so a lot of people will work very, very hard to protect this thing that they were raised with, to stay locked in that tower and contained in it. But that will never prevent a wrecking ball from coming through. It just is about how we choose to prioritize ourselves when it does. Because change is inevitable. Misery does not have to be. And so we'll look at what has constructed that tower, whether the tower that we are living in right now is really the appropriate one for us. It is very much a radical reflections, know yourself approach so that you know what is truly yours to carry, what that tower is actually made of, and what you want it to be made of the next time a wrecking ball comes through or as you are rebuilding from the current one. The second class is going to focus very heavily on conflict resolution, conflict styles, because towers are coming down not just for us, but for other people too. And even if it was only for us, it shifts how we see people who have inhabited that tower with us, people who created that tower, for example, our families of origin. It also impacts how we choose to rebuild and who we choose to trust in that rebuilding process. And so I will be teaching you the ways in which we can resolve and encounter that conflict um, in a way that is both healthy and nourishing for our communities, but also how we can shift how we approach ourselves in that process and what we choose to keep with us in that rebuilding. The third class, which I'm super excited about and is very much going to be much more of a brainstorming session, is very much about how to look at this from a macro scale, from a big picture perspective. Because towers are coming down not just for us individually, certainly for me, certainly for pretty much everyone I have been coaching, but it is also coming down for us globally, nationally, in our states, in our communities, in our municipalities. So, from big picture all the way down to little picture, how do we activate this energy in a way that creates interconnected systems where we actually focus much more on collective community care and what I call creative care, because creative care is about finding creative solutions to old problems, things like homelessness, things like healthcare, things like uh, building community, mental health, any of these things. I want us to be very creative in how we build and rebuild the networks between us when these towers come down and what it reveals about our interconnectedness as these things come down. Because, like I said, it's not just us, right? So, how do we activate that energy and really make it come alive within that framework? And then the fourth class that I'm going to be doing, if you go through all three classes, you'll get a discount of $100 on this upcoming class that I'm going to tell you about, which is my Reiki 1 and 2 for Heart Centered Leadership. I am so excited to be teaching this class because I want to be able to show folks how you can utilize Reiki both for yourself to help stave off burnout. Remember, burnout is a systemic problem. It is not just individual, but how you can keep yourself centered when you're in the midst of it. It is a tool I really wish I had when I was going through it, but then also how you can use and send Reiki to others, including other collaborators in other spaces, across distances. How can you reach them and send them your good energy, even if you cannot contribute time or treasure or any other kind of talent to them in their fight? Because remember, everything that we are going through right now, these collective towers coming down, these wrecking balls just swinging on through with reckless abandon, we are all going through it together. So, how can we utilize all of the gifts that we have? And I'm pointing to my hands right now because that's where that's where my Reiki comes through. How can we utilize all of our gifts to support our community, to support ourselves, and to support our loved ones? So, that will be a 2-day class. It is a little bit on the pricey side for what I offer, but like I said, if you go through all of the tower classes, you'll get $100 off the Reiki class. But then if you're a patron and a member of my Patreon, patreon.com/rosegoldheart, if you are a member there, you will get even further discounts. So those discounts stack up in the long run. So I invite you to join me for this Surviving Your Tower Moment class. I am so excited to be teaching this and sharing my heart with you in this way. This has been guiding me ever since I was 15. I have been doing this longer than I've been doing tarot, longer than I've even been doing, well, it's about the same amount of time that I've been doing a lot of the leadership and political work as well, because I got involved in that right around the same age at 15. So you can see how these things stack together in my leadership paradigm. So I am so happy to be offering this to you. There are links below, and because you are a subscriber here, there is going to be a special discount code just for you. So look for that down below. Thank you so much.